Humans do not truly see. They see themselves trying to see. Humans do not truly do. They see themselves trying to do. Between a human and a thing lies a presence. Between a human and a thing lies a prism. This presence, this prism, is the self. There are always at least 3 presences in the room, never just 2. The question is not what to do with this self. The question is not how to get rid of this self. The question is not how to love this self. The question is not how to accept this self. The questions are, what is the cost of having a self? Is it truly possible to live in peace in the presence of a self? Is it truly possible to find freedom in the presence of a self? Is it truly possible to live without conflict in the presence of a self? Is it truly possible to arrive at clarity in the presence of a self? Is it truly possible to create art and masterpieces in the presence of a self? Is it truly possible to live in the presence of a self? In the presence of a self, the slightest tremor feels like an earthquake. In the presence of a self, there is constant anxiety and fear of what will happen to the self. In the presence of a self, there is a 24-hour surveillance required to watch over the self. In the presence of the self, there is a minute-by-minute appraisal of its conditions and its feelings. In the presence of a self, there is a lifelong struggle to improve it and adorn it. Looking at the world through the eyes of a self, one sees only likes and dislikes. These likes and dislikes give rise to good and bad. Good and bad give rise to affinities and aversions. Where there are affinities and aversions, there must be anxiety and fear. It would not be wise to seek a solution to the problem of the self, for the seeking of a solution will be yet another chance to garner more good feelings for the very self that one claims to be the problem. There is no solution. Does this mean that one must live in fear and anxiety forever? It is not for me to say. I will only say that there are those who quietly accept this fate, and there are those who do not. It is not a question of willpower or determination, nor is it a question of what is right or what is good. It is simply a matter of looking at the issue, square in the face, and seeing what arises within one's interiority. It would not be wise to condemn the self, for where is the wisdom in condemning something that does not exist? Nor would it be wise to attempt to convince oneself that the self does not exist. For where is the wisdom of introducing yet another self-conflict? Does the self truly exist? It does not exist. But this is of little importance, for any such claim would fly in the face of one's own perceived experiences. It will go against all that a human has been told and has lived with for his entire life. A man has made his home within the self. He has created a life for himself within its walls. What does it matter to him if it exists or not, if somehow he has wished it into existence? Through the eyes of a self, life is up one moment and down the very next. This is verifiable by every living human being. Why is this the case? Because the self is an ocean of likes and dislikes. Would it seem realistic that its encounters would be limited to only the things that it liked? The laws of probability alone would make this an impossibility. The self bumps into walls throughout the entire span of its existence. A kind word, and the self becomes happy. A harsh word, and the self becomes upset. The self lives in a world of light and dark shadows. As it goes, so the human goes. If there were no self, everything in a human's life would be perfect. But this for most, would be a little too much to bear.